Welcome to Everybody Studios. I'm Meredith Dean, your host for Everybody in Charlotte. I have one of my favorite people here with me. We have the Will Lewis. We're going to be doing a really fun episode all about just people that are changing Charlotte for the better. And he's definitely one of those people. Queen City News anchor, content creator, a cook. You do it all. And we just got
Oh,
back from Bali
I
like a
know.
month-ish ago.
I know. Thank you so much. I laugh when I hear content creator because it's like my reels are not all the way there yet, but they're getting
They
there.
are so good. I'm thinking about how amazing. I mean, I feel like your trajectory with your content creation, you've just
Oh yeah, that's
so great.
starting. I mean,
It's
I'm
great.
learning. You know that. I'm a sponge for when it comes to this stuff because got to keep learning, got to keep going. So it's always good.
Exactly. Well,
Yeah.
you're learning all the time. And I feel like you're also telling these stories that are so important in Charlotte. And what is kind of the impact that you hope to make or the legacy you want to leave in Charlotte?
You know what? Every interaction, it's one of those things. I want to leave people feeling good. I don't think that, your interactions should be bad. At least leave with something that someone can say, oh, but during this part of the conversation, this was good. I mean, a whole conversation may not be good, but I want to make sure that even if it's an argument, we end at a point where it's like, okay, still made me feel good. Because there's a difference between hearing someone and listening to someone. And if you're listening to someone about what they're saying and not just like hearing them go, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I heard you. Now let's keep moving. But if you actually listen to them, that still makes them feel good, no matter what you're talking about.
Well, and that active listening, I feel like a lot of people need to absorb because I've
Yeah.
even talked to people about how sometimes people's eyes will glaze over, right? And
Hmm.
in
Yeah.
this world, I feel like our attention span, even in social media or in news, is so short. So I love that you just
Yeah.
said that.
Well, it's one of those things now people are in, and I hate it, 7-second reel or, 15-second reel or whatever. And that's sort of where that attention span is. And sometimes you don't really get to know, you're not going to know somebody in 7 seconds. You're going to know what that part is that they want to show you, but you're not going to know the
And
full person.
I'm glad that you said that because how do you feel like that also relates to news too? I mean, what are some of those misconceptions you feel like people have about national or local news?
Well, I mean, the first thing is that you don't want to do good news. I mean, I go around Charlotte a lot and people catch me at restaurants or they catch me out and they're like, "Oh, I really wish you guys would do some good news." Well, we do, but you know, how long did you watch? Because if you only watched for, 15 seconds or you watched the first story and you started seeing all the shootings or things that are going bad, you kind of miss the other stuff. It's like sometimes I think of the news as one of those things where it's the onion. When you're peeling off the layers, yeah, you're going to see the first layer. First layer of onion may be bad. You may have to peel it off before you start getting to the good stuff. Sometimes that's how a newscast is. We might have something down at 15 minutes later, but it's a great story. And I think Queen City News, I really love the fact that there are a lot of good storytellers over there. We do so many different series. We highlight different people. I mean, that's the one thing I try to do on our weekend morning shows is bring people in and highlight the good things that are happening in Charlotte.
And I've seen them. You've done such a good job of that. What are maybe some of the stories that you want other people to know about that you've done? Some of those people
Uh,
that you've highlighted?
well, let's see. Our good friend, of course, Joy Farley, and she's the poster girl. Well, she's the cover girl for Poster Girls, the book. And Meredith Ritchie wrote an amazing book about the history of Charlotte and everything else. So when you look at things like that, because people who are coming here, you talk to people all the time and you're like, hey, where are you from? And most of the times they're not saying Charlotte. And this book teaches on the history, some of the roles that Charlotte played. And then, my boy Treasy, I got to give it up to my mate.
My might.
My mate, I got to give it up to him. And, in Sydney, the things that they did, I first met them during Luminous Lane. So that was an amazing project. And then now the Piece for Peace, where you're just touching everyone. I mean, that's a worldwide movement
Through art. It's
through art,
beautiful.
and it's amazing. So we do that, but then there's other things. I had an interview with the Uptown Farmers Market, and it was just to tell seniors, hey, they're giving out vouchers. You can get $50 free money for vegetables. So, I mean, it's
That's
just
huge. I didn't know about that. That's so
so yeah.
beautiful.
So when you're talking about things like that, those are the things that I want to leave and reach out to the community with.
And that's the thing. There's so many of those positive stories that you guys are doing all the time, and not even just Queen City News, but also nationally. There's so
Yeah.
many good stories, and I feel like we just need to focus on those good ones as much as we can, but also while staying informed because it's still important to know what's going on in the
Right.
world.
But you got to peel the onion. You got to watch for the, I mean, I guess we could come up with something else, but onion is just the only thing I can think of right now with
I love
layers.
it.
So
It's a good analogy.
just got to
Big
keep
fan.
peeling the onion and you get the good stuff.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
we recently just went to Bali, like we
Oh.
have been talking about. And one of
Mm-hmm.
the coolest experiences that we had was thanks to you. Just one of your ideas. I would love for you to talk about our coffee experience
Uh,
and why that
sure.
one was particularly interesting.
Okay, so I am a huge coffee drinker. If you go to my IG page, it says coffee lover. I mean, so I like going everywhere. I will stop at a Starbucks roastery, depending on what city I'm in. But in Bali, in Indonesia, they have one of the most expensive coffees in the world. It's called Luwak coffee. Now,
We're already laughing.
Luwak coffee, though, it starts off being made by an animal called a civet that eats ripe coffee beans.
And what does a
Only eats
civet look like for those that don't know what civets are?
cat,
Raccoon.
raccoonish. Yeah, but when you go to these plantations, they're just out in the open. They let them out at night because they're nocturnal. They only eat ripe coffee beans. But the way they harvest these ripe coffee beans is they then go collect their poop. And you remember when we sat there, you just saw these, and I hate to say it this way, but you just saw these logs with coffee beans sitting in there. But then you saw the people who actually washed them and then broke what people don't
Wash them
understand.
very well. Very
Yes. But what people don't understand, there's like 2 or 3 shells before you get to an actual coffee bean.
Oh yeah.
So the poop's not really touching the actual coffee bean, but the enzymes in the stomach and everything else break down and change the flavor of those coffee beans. So as soon as we had our first meeting and I told everybody, I go, hey, I'm gonna go drink poop coffee if anybody wants to. And it sounds so bad because people are like, ooh, poop coffee. And
And when you're talking about a meeting to give people context, I take people on international destinations, Dean's List
Mhm.
destinations, and Will is a part of a group of about 15 of us and had the time of our lives. But when
Yeah,
you brought it up on the meeting, I was like, I'm in.
yeah.
This sounds awesome. We got to try it.
So we go and and the thing is those people are so nice. I mean, I cannot say enough about all the people we met when we were over in Bali. But all you had to do was pay for the cup of poop coffee. And then they gave you like 15 other coffees and teas and everything
It was
else.
incredible. The best tasting ever. I
Yeah.
mean, we were having so much fun.
Well, and then you even have Corey, who never drank coffee ever, has the poop coffee, is like, this is amazing, has some other coffees. And then the first day he's back, or the second day he's back, he's like, guess what? I bought a coffee maker.
Exactly. I mean, there are all these little transformational moments or
Yeah.
things that just change the way you live your day to day life.
Yeah. And it was great because I think it made me so happy just because I mean, you have to realize that was the day after we had hiked a volcano and we had so many breakthroughs up there. And then we were just coming back and people were, yeah, we were tired, but I'm like, hey, I'm not going to pass up poop coffee. So we stopped and then a lot of people got off. And I mean, that bus trip home was that.
We were buzzing. I mean, it was so fun. We just had coffee, but all of us were just high on life. It
Yeah.
was
Oh,
it
yeah.
was an incredible bonding experience trying this coffee together, but you were the one that was the impetus for
Yeah.
making that happen.
Yeah. Well, all right. Me and the civets.
Me and the civets.
Me and the
And how do
civets.
you feel like that trip kind of changed the way you look at life or even just international travel in general?
Well, it's one of the things I was telling you. So I've either lived in, worked in, or driven through all 50 states. Been to Canada, been to Mexico. So it's not like I hadn't been traveling or I hadn't been going to see things, but it's just something else when you go somewhere else and see a whole different culture. And I mean, yes, I saw that in Montreal or I've seen that in Cozumel, but just I've never been to that far east, and you see the different way that they live their lifestyle or how they are even just appreciative. I remember our guide, Sana, who would totally love, and we eat nasi goreng, which is fried rice with an egg over it, but we ate that all the time for breakfast. But he was telling us, hey, growing up, if we had rice, it was a great day. And just to hear people say that and then walk around and see all the people cooking all this stuff, I mean, I think that's the part that enriches you. You
Yep.
sit there and okay, how am I going to pay for this trip? But then after you pay for the trip and you go, you come back and you've gained so much more than you've ever paid out.
Beautifully said, beautifully said. And I feel like the kind of friendships and the way that you bond,
Oh yeah,
even all of us coming back to Charlotte, the majority of the people that came on the trip are from
yeah.
Charlotte or live in Charlotte now, and I feel like we're just annoying people all the time that we're like, oh,
Oh
back in Bali.
yes. Oh, believe me. And shout out to our Cali friends because
Of
we
course.
cannot forget about them. But you are right because there are times that I still, even right now, catch myself and I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh, but in Bali when I was doing this, or or when we were in Bali, we all and everybody's like, at work they now call me Bali Will because
Stop.
because that they're just like when you look at the trip, and it wasn't just me, but when you look at the trip and you look at all the people that went on it, it seems like every single person had this enlightenment of whatever happened on that trip. And they go, we don't know what happened, but if you look at your pictures before you went and you look at some of the pictures after you came back, they go, there looks to be a different change, a brighter moment.
Oh, that's so beautiful to hear that from the outside because I see that just
Hmm.
the difference between everyone before we left compared to when we came back and how we're like permanently bonded by this experience. And Bali just being so spiritual too. I
Right.
feel like we all had these moments of self realization of, oh my gosh, I can do this, or I don't have to deal with this anymore.
Hmm.
I am a new person. I'm renewed. And we did that at the water
Oh
temple.
yeah.
With all
Yeah.
of our different, interactions we had at the temples.
Yeah, and that was I mean, and I went and I went when I first landed, I went there and it's such an experience because you sit there and you're thinking this is water that has been coming from this natural spring for centuries. And you're sitting there and you're going through this ceremony and when I got to the fourth fountain, a dragonfly landed on the fountain, which is one of those things of transformation. And from that on, it kind of set the intention of the trip. But you're right. Now we're back. And I miss getting up and walking out of our bungalow and seeing everybody sitting there at breakfast. Or I miss the fact that we were all riding scooters and I thought I was going to get
It's
flipped
one of my
over.
favorite parts.
But
Thought we weren't even gonna get up the mountain.
yeah, I was like, I'm not getting up the mountain. I'm gonna have to walk back up, or and just normal things of just laughter. There was so much laughter, and it wasn't even. I don't. I don't really know if there was any fights or any disagreements. I have
Which
no
is
idea.
which is amazing for a group of that many
Hmm.
people going across the world, but it was a beautiful collection of humans, and we were just all on the same page with how we loved each other and just, like, looked for ways to lift each other up, and it was special.
Yeah, I mean, very special trip. It's something that I will never forget. I still cry on my whole thinking about my volcano trek. And then even when you're sitting with all the friends that went, everybody sits there and they go, "Ah, I was just thinking about that." And I kind of shed a tear. And
Oh.
it's one of those things that we all go, now I just want to make sure that I hang out with you guys or that I make sure you're okay. I mean, if they see the group chat, I mean, there's just things that we're just like, hey, just checking on everybody and make sure that you're okay because that was the bond and everything that we had gathered for each other.
I love it so much. And, going forward, I would love to know, what is something that's on your heart that is a piece of advice or something that you want other people to know? It doesn't have to be about travel, it could be anything, but something you want other people in Charlotte or beyond
Oh,
to know
I
about.
mean, it's just be true to yourself. I think that was one of the things when I went over there. There was so many things of where you're like, okay, I got to act this way because then it, you know, pleases this person, or I have to act this way because it pleases this person. And you know what? No matter what happens, if you're acting as yourself, the people that appreciate you will be in your circle. And I think that was one of the big things. None of us went, I mean, we didn't really know each other. I mean, we knew each other sort of IG, social media stuff, but as we got together and we were our authentic selves, we all know that we're a circle of friends that will be together and be checking out each other all the time.
And support each other. It's
Yeah.
that it's we can make online impact, but more importantly, that offline impact. So we had some online connections that turned into offline impact.
Yeah, and the thing is look at us now. We're even, we went and supported Joy at, her book club meeting. We've been to all the art over there with Sydney and Treasy. If there's
You guys come to my
anything
birthday
else,
party.
oh yeah, that's true. That's right. I went and found the light blue shirt. I was ready.
Cute little picnic. We
Yeah,
love
and
it.
that's the whole thing. It's like if now you have those people that you say, "Hey, I have this going on," and not only are your friends going to be there, but then people in their circle are going to be there, and you know that those people are all supporting. And once you start doing that, it's like a wave. It's like a ripple. You make that first initial rock throw, but then you see everything start rippling out, and that's how things change.
Oh, I love it. And thank you for the positive impact that you continue to put in my life and in so many other
No, no,
lives. So,
thank you. You guys do the same. I mean, it's, we're pouring into each other. And that's the whole thing because that's how this all changes. I mean, so much stuff is going on right now. And I just told you, I go, if I got stressed a couple nights ago. And what did I do? I went home and I watched, just some of the water temple ceremony. Or I just looked at a picture at the volcano because you know that you can climb those things or you can do those things step by step. But when you get to the top, it's a beautiful picture.
oh, wow. What a beautiful way to end this episode with Will Lewis from Queen City News, content creator, traveler galore. Thank you so much for coming on,
Oh,
everybody
thank
in
you.
Charlotte.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
You're the best. Well, this is a wonderful episode with Will. Every single week, we highlight incredible people that are in Charlotte who are making an impact offline and online in different ways. If you're interested in hosting your own podcast here or want to do your own creative project, Everybody Studios is the place to come to. I'm Meredith Dean, once again, your host, and we look forward to seeing you next week.